right, a good day to all. Happy Monday. Sam here with you, August 20th. We're kind of late morning. And for those of you that kind of watch the schedule here, typically on a Monday we'd take a look at Bitcoin. But as we are stuck in this range, there's not much I can offer to you there until we break out of this range. So the count has not changed from the last video that I did. We'll give it a day, see if we can get this range broken and maybe some things to look at here. So I did a little bit of freestyle here today. So I did talk to some members and did a little polling, asked around. So we're going to look at two today. One I'm going to call a mystery coin, but first up, or a mystery chart, I should say. But first up here, we haven't looked at Ripple in a while. So here's Ripple to the dollar. Boy, certainly an ugly looking chart. So here's our all-time high up here. What did we get? 331. This is on Bitstamp, to the dollar on Bitstamp. So there's a couple of things that are worth noting here, and so there's some things maybe I can show you that are worth teachable moments here. So I'm going to just open it up a bit here. A few things here that I thought were interesting. So we get our clear 5 waves up into our peak here at what did I say? 331. Move this over here. Now coming down here, it just becomes a matter of it's process of elimination, really. So as we come down here, we got to pay. Of course, what we're looking for is 3s and 5s. So can't ignore this 5. Can't ignore it, right? There's very difficult to count this any other way, and it does look like no surprise. It's very technical, and we have certainly got algo participation here. This was something that I noticed that was kind of interesting. So if you look here from our pivot, we get our first push down here. Then we get our what I'm labeling as our one low. Here's the push up. We get just shy of the 618. But note this here. So look at this bar here. That's a 2-hour bar. But we get this very long wick here. And it appears like what's happening there is that this is an algo looking for a fill. So they sold it here and pushed it down here, got their fill, and then we get the big reaction. So certainly it's technical here. So I don't have that as our 3 low here because we continue to subdivide. But I get a good 1-2, and this tells me algos are on board. There's no question about it. That wouldn't be a surprise anyway. We look here, so this gives me a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're in a diagonal, right? We overlap the 1, so we have a leading diagonal, which we can accommodate here in an A wave. It's an A wave or a 1 wave where we're going to be looking for a diagonal structure. So we get a leading diagonal 5 waves down into an A wave. And we get this double bottom. Here's a couple of different ways you could interpret that. You may have A, B, C here. Either way, this is our deepest retracement. So we get a decent retracement here. Now, if I go from the start of the 5-wave sequence, we're only getting the 38. Remember, algo doesn't care about an Elliott count. They're just working from major pivots. I did notice this here. I think it was here. So we end up here. There's a little bit of a we don't know. You're trying to guess what the algos are using. So one of them would have used this. That's too shallow unless this is a front run on the 38. And you might look here, say, could they be using that? Well, if they were using that, that's a bit far for a front run on the B wave here. So it's too far from the 50. So let me go back here. So we're too far from the 50. It's too far for a front run off of the 50. Now it could have been there's some participation here at this pivot, but you're kind of just doing a little bit of trial and error. Now what we get here, now it's from this pivot here after this reaction where we come up for the 4, well then we go down, we get a good solid. So this is a significant pivot. We come right to the golden zone. And right, no surprise here, right? We go right to target. So that one we can identify here. So this is an algo move. We know that. No question about it because we can see the reaction at the target, right? As I always will tell you, it's not this, it's this. That's the tell, that it's the reaction at the target. So we've got fairly technical trading here on our way down. We've got an A, B, C, and we finish here. You can see coming down here, we get the extension in the 1 wave, and you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't overlap. So we get an impulse into a 1 wave. Then we get a 1, 2, 3. Now, yet again, we don't overlap, so we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so there's a completed ABC. Well, given what's happened now, the only other way to count this as a WXY. Well, I take that back. I suppose you might be able to make the case, well, you probably could make the case, that you had an A, B, C, D, and then we have a very long E. Yet I don't like the symmetry here. I don't like the length of time that we'd be experiencing in the E wave here, and additionally, it does not look like it's finished. So despite what's problematic in this count is the lack of depth of the X wave. That is not ideal. The preference would be to look for it much deeper, 786 to 90%. We just don't get it. But there's just, I don't like the count as much given the length of this. So this would have to be your E wave here, and I just don't like the symmetry there. So I think it plays better accommodating this very shallow X wave to finish here as we get an ABC to finish it, truncated C wave here, but we do get the diagonal. Do we use a diagonal? Yeah, we get a diagonal structure in that C wave. So that's a contender for an X. I know, purists, Elliott purists, I know. All right, spare me the comment. I know that should be deeper, but I prefer the count. So if we come from this pivot here, I get a nice, clean, clear 5 waves coming down. So I like this as an A wave. So from this X, there's my A. Then we've got our kind of, this looks much like Bitcoin or most of crypto. And Bitcoin, it was a double top. But here it looks like I've got a truncation again in the C wave, just as I had it here. And this is something, the reason I'm leaning into that is that often when you see it at one pivot, you'll see it at the next. So I've got this ABC truncation into the X, and then yet again, I get this ABC here truncation into a B wave. So if let's see, zoom in on this a little bit. All right, so it's, whether it's 1, 2 here, this is essentially a double bottom, although technically if I open this up here, you can see we don't violate this low. So we stay internal. So I've got this as my 2 here. Then I can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my 3 ABC. Again, I get a truncation in my C wave. But I like this count here. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, up we go. And I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my diagonal here to finish it. So I get a completed A wave. Right? Then we rip down hard. Here's the AB. And then it looks like yet again I get another, well, if I was going to label it for you. So I'd get another A, B, C into the C wave here. Now let's get that. Go all the way down here. So we get an ABC. That gives me a candidate here. So in blue, we get an A, pardon me. I get in blue, I'm in the larger degree. Let me take that up a degree so I don't confuse myself as well as you. Okay, so A, B, C into a B. All right, so we finish with this. Now we start to come down here. So this, move that over here where it should be. All right, so I'm going to go from the 2 hour to the 1 hour. We can see this a little bit better. All right, so let's come back here. I think that's the problem when you change. Okay, so here it is. All right, so here's the ABC into the C of the B. All right, so 1, 2. Looks like I get a nice clean impulse. Here's my 3. ABC into my 4. And then I finish down here at my 5. All right, so that gives me a candidate. So I've got this impulsive structure here. So I've got a candidate here for a 1 wave coming off of this B. All right, 1, 2. All right, let's check it. All right, so from this pivot up here to my, wrong one. From this pivot up here to my 1 low, well, it's a little shallow for a 2. All right, we can agree on that. We know it's much more common for a 2 to go to between the 50 and the 618. We don't get there. We see this often when a market is trending so strongly. We don't have enough. There's not enough strength for that 2 wave to get up to the 50. So what do? We come right to the Vegas wave, and then we start to roll over again. So I've got this as a completed 1 wave here. I think it's a reasonable count here. So all the subdivision is good. I get 5 in my 5th. I get 5 in my 3rd. I got a little bit of a skinny 1 wave here, but it plays here, and we can work from the 2 to the 3 here. So here we're looking for the 4 at the 38. That's just perfect. We end up getting 2nd target. We get it twice. Ultimately get 3rd target. So that's technical. Algo participation likely here. So here's my 1 wave. Here's my 2. Now I need an impulsive structure. So we get a little subdivision here that makes this tricky, which is why I thought this might be worth excuse me, a review. All right, so this is my 2, so let's wick that off. So this is my 2 wave here. So I go down, I've got 5 down, then I get an A, B, looks like I finish with a diagonal to give me my C wave into my 2. All right, then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finishing my 1 wave here. So I've got, and we don't overlap, so I've got I've got an impulse into my 1 wave. Here's my 1, let's go up a degree. Here's my 1 wave. All right, so then I get an A, B, and I get all sorts of good subdivision to give me my 2. So I go 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Because this is not long enough. This can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, because which we can now, with the benefit of seeing the additional price action here, we know that can't be 1, 2, 3 because we keep going. Now it's certainly possible that we could have been looking at that previously, but given the count as we know it now, it's almost a process of elimination as we work backwards. Well, here's a clean 5. Can't ignore that 5. It would be too short to be the 3, so I go 1, 2 yet again. Well, if this is a solid 2, if I'm right about this being the 2, well, I've got to have an impulse for my 3rd. All right, so here's where we get. So we get a lot of subdivision here. So let me open this up yet again. All right, so here's my 2. Now I've got to get another 1, 2, 3. Looks like I get A, B, C into my 4 here. All right, well, let's check that. So if this is completed here and I get 1, 2, 3, and here's my 4 where I'm looking for a relationship here, I'm looking for my 2 and my 3, right? So I'm looking for that. Just where we want to find it, we're looking for that 4th, and ideally we're looking right at the 38. So I've got a solid 1, 2, 3 A, B, C into my 4, and it looks like we finish this impulse all the way down here at 2nd target. Do you see what happens? So here's the 3 wave, here's the 4, first target, blows right through it, comes back, a little tap from underneath before it rips down, and we get a completed impulsive structure to give me the 5 waves of the 3rd wave here in white. So here's my 2. So to put it all together, so from this pivot up here, I go 1, 2, here's my completed impulse. That finishes my 3, and now we're in the process. We don't know if the 4 is done, but we have a candidate here for a potential 4. Now, let's check a few things. So you look at this 3 all the way down here, and you think, man, that's a lot of subdivision down there. Let's just double check that. Would that make sense? Well, let's use our alternate tool, and we'll take the length of the 1, and we'll project it from the 2, and then we'll just start pulling it over and see where we land. What's the highest probability zone for a wave 3? All right, we know it's between the 1618 and the 175. Where do we go? Right to it. So that's guiding me through that choice of that as a 3rd relative to this 1, 2. Then it's a matter of working backwards. Can I get this impulse to subdivide to give me a clean count? And indeed I can. So from 1, 2 down to my 3. Now the question is, where's the 4? So we have a candidate here. That would be mighty shallow, but let's check that as well. So if I'm right about this being the 2, so I'm going to take from my 2 to my proposed wave 3 down here. I guess we can take this off now. Sure, if I get that right on that pivot. Okay, well, so why do I say this is a candidate? Well, we've come to the 23.6. We know in a strongly trending market, that's not unreasonable for a wave 4 to be anywhere between the 23 and the 38. So it would be somewhat shallow. I can get the good subdivision here. It's a little, I had to check this 4, but that's not unreasonable, and that would put our, if we're done here, and let me go down to the 15 minute. If we are done, then what we have just starting here, let's open it up. So this potentially now plays as an A, B, C here. All right, let's get that. 1 second here. We'll get that to yellow. Okay, there we go. So it's a candidate, right? So could be the ABC is done. All right, let me line all this up. So here we go into, there's our 5th of our 5th of our 3rd, right? We know we like this pivot because of where it came in. at the 1618175 box. So in a little more detail, you can see here I've got a contender for an ABC, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 finishes the 5. So even from this 4 here, I've got subdivision here down on the 15-minute to reinforce the idea that I've got a good pivot here, and then we come off of it. We get it looks like I've got a 5-wave structure into my A wave here, and I get an impulse as we don't overlap. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C into my B. Right? I know that's hard to see, but let me open that up. So I know that's hard to see, but if you look at it here, so now you can see A, B, C, and I guarantee you that's technical here. So come here. Be shocked if it were not. So all right, so 6, so there you go. So look at that. So even down here on the 15-minute. So we go from the A, we go down here, then we go golden zone, boom, right target gets through it actually. All right, so a perfect algo trade. Remember, they're on all time frames, right? So they get that, boom, perfect. Golden zone, zoom, okay, down we go. All right, so I like this as a B wave here. Now I can definitely get a C wave to finish up here. Let's zoom out again. All right, so let me get that. Trying to do it by hand, it's not working. Okay, so I can get some sort of a, looks like 1, 2, 3, 5. Let's check it. All right, so this would be, looks like I'd go 1, 2. All right, so here's my candidate for a third. Here's another candidate, but the depth of this retracement makes me think it's here. So from that, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, extension in the 5th to give me my C wave. Now this looks, so far, it looks like all I've done is go 1, 2. Right, we'd have 3, 4, and 5 still to come. But that we could just be in the A wave. It's hard to say. But let's check this. I'm going to, just looking at it, tell you that's likely technical here. Well, we got a tick through the 665. It's all right for a wave 2 or a wave B. We know that can be anywhere from the 50 to the 786. Well, I guess you can see it here. So despite getting through that by a tick or two, that implies some strength. So what that would mean is that if an algo were trading this on the short side, they've exited now. What they will do is buy the next 50. Doesn't mean just because it's there doesn't mean they'll get it. But look what we've done here, right to the golden zone. All right, so you can see, and look here, the reaction at the 50. So you have a little bit of a fib fight going on here. This looks to me like the odds favor the downside because of the Elliott count, implying that we're not complete yet here. So how are we going to know? Well, we got to wait and see. Does this continue? Are we going to, it looks like we might have 1, 2, and then in the process of putting in a 3, 4, 5, something like that to give us our third wave. That's what I'd be leaning into. So I would not be a buyer here at the golden zone here based on the Elliott count would influence that. So I'd be looking more for this to continue down here. There's a potential, I do think, for a sell if we come down here for this 3 to catch the 4 to the 5, again, if you're comfortable shorting. And that's a candidate here, but first we've got to get an impulse in our third, right? Well, pardon me. We don't absolutely have to have an impulse here because we're in our 5th wave. So we could finish with an ending diagonal. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But, this could just be the one. I'm down here on the 15 minutes. So let's go back out to our 2-hour and think about where that would put us. Let's reset here. So if this is right, if this 4 is in, and we can't confirm that just yet. But if that's the case, well, then you're looking at, well, where could we be going? Well, we know we had a target down here. So this could, well, all just be part of, if we're going to get this, this could just be the 1 wave. So if let me take this down. Okay, so if we think about where we could be going relative to the 4, so here's our algo target down here from the 23. Now, we don't know for sure that this confirms, but we have good subdivision to suggest that it's likely a good pivot, and we've got 1, 2. So if this is going to come down here like this, so let's think about that. So if this is going to complete this 5 wave, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's likely just the 1 wave. So from here, we'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's change that color, and we'll go up a degree. So it makes sense. All right, so that's potentially now we're just going in the 1 wave before we go 2, 3, 4, and 5, and all of this down here. Now sadly, we've got to pay attention to where 0 is, right? Because we're coming down here where 0. Oh, I see I wicked it off here. Well, as close as I could get it by hand. So that's approximately, that was within a few cents of 0. So we got to pay attention to that. So we're now here, we're at 12 cents if we hit the algo target. You know, it's ugly. It's ugly. There's no question about it. So either this is going to be potentially the buy of the year, for much longer, possibly. We don't know if Ripple's going to survive, but here it is. So we've got a pretty solid count. So let's pull this thing all the way back out. See if we can reassemble the whole structure. All of this working off of this double top here, this ABC with the truncated C, and having worked through all of that subdivision, just does not look like we're done here. So it looks like we're in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and now just trying to finish up, right as I took you through here in white, the 1, 2, looking to finish the 4 and the 5, all suggesting lower prices still yet to come. But boy, Ripple at 12 cents. Well, you know, you certainly can load up on it. That's a possibility here. The downside is awfully limited. Now, I don't know that we're going that low, right? Nobody knows, but that certainly technically is a very, very possible outcome if we were to come down here at 12 cents. So, you know, if Ripple survives, that's going to be an interesting, potentially now, an interesting opportunity. We'll see. We'll see. But I do like the count here. I thought that was worthwhile. It's a good for someone that's still learning Elliott. There's a few challenges here, and it requires you to go through and measure and check. As I have noted before, right, just like carpentry, you measure twice and cut once. So as you're labeling this and thinking about where you're going to trade, you got to do that work. You can't ignore a 5-wave structure or a 3-wave structure. They have to be accounted for somewhere in your count, if you will. So, you know, watch for this. Right? Again, I'll be surprised if this is our hard low. Just certainly, given how technical the 1, 2, 3 was. Now we might have another push up, but I wouldn't be a buyer here just yet. I just don't think we're complete here. So there's potentially a setup for another sell, but I wouldn't be a buyer until we're down here in the 15 to 12 cents range myself. All right, so that'll probably wrap us there for that, and I'll be back with our mystery chart here a little bit later. All right, guys, back to you.